If you like storytime vibes, hit subscribe and let's dive in together.
I remember the first time I said it out loud. It wasn't an accusation, it was just a feeling. One of those quiet, uneasy things that sit in your chest and refuse to leave. We were in the kitchen. Sophie was laughing at something on her phone again. That same laugh she used to save for me. But lately, it belonged to someone else. I asked, trying to sound casual. You've been talking to Ethan a lot lately, huh? She didn't even look up. He's my best friend, Daniel. Don't start. Don't start. That's what she said when she wanted me to stop feeling. I wasn't trying to pick a fight. I just noticed things. How her phone never left her hand. How she'd smile at her screen, whispering, "Oh my God," under her breath. How she'd turn it face down when I walked in. At first, I told myself I was overreacting. Every marriage goes through dry spells, right? Maybe she just needed connection, someone to talk to. But that thought didn't comfort me. It made me sick, because the person she wanted to talk to wasn't me anymore. When I brought it up again, she laughed. Sharp, almost mean. You're jealous of Ethan? Seriously? He's like my brother. And maybe that's when something inside me started to crack. Not because she denied it, but because she mocked the fact that I even felt it. You can survive betrayal if someone admits it, but being laughed at for bleeding, that's a different kind of wound. That night, she told her sister about it. I overheard them. Daniel's being insecure again? Sophie said. He actually thinks Ethan's competition. They both laughed. And that sound, it burned into me. I wasn't an angry man. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. But I started to notice every little thing after that. The way she'd dress up more when she met Ethan. The way her tone changed when she talked to him. Lighter, freer. With me, it was all sighs and short answers. With him, it was laughter and long messages. I told myself to stop obsessing, but it's hard to ignore the sound of your marriage slowly fading behind someone else's name. That was the first warning, and I wish I'd listened to it. After that night, something in me went quiet. It wasn't anger, not yet. Just silence. I started noticing the small details that used to mean nothing. Like how she'd turn her chair slightly away from me on the couch when she texted him, how she'd lock her phone now, even at home, how her laughter with me became polite, thin and forced, like she was performing a memory. I used to know every version of her laugh, the soft one when she was tired, the loud one when she felt free, the teasing one that always came with a wink. But lately, I only heard the fake one, the kind you give a stranger in a grocery store when they make small talk. And it hit me. She wasn't angry at me. She was done with me. Still, I tried. I asked her to go on walks. I cooked her favorite meals. I even took a few days off work, hoping we could just reconnect somehow. But every time I tried to reach her, she'd say she was busy, or she'd be on her phone, smiling at something I wasn't part of. Once, during dinner, I watched her light up reading a text. Her eyes softened, her lips curved, and then she remembered I was there. She put the phone down and forced a smile at me. That moment, God, it felt like watching someone turn off a light. It's strange, isn't it? How distance doesn't start in miles. It starts in seconds. The pauses between words, the delayed replies, the moments when someone's body is next to you, but their heart's somewhere else. And I kept pretending not to notice, because the truth was too heavy. One night, I tried again. Sophie, I said quietly, it feels like you're giving parts of yourself to Ethan that used to belong to us. She sighed, long and tired, like I was a chore she didn't sign up for. Daniel, you're overreacting. He's just a friend. Stop trying to control me. That word, control, it broke something in me. I wasn't trying to control her. I was begging her to see me. But she didn't. She rolled her eyes, stood up, and walked out of the room. That's when I realized sometimes love doesn't die in a fight. Sometimes it just fades quietly while you're sitting at the same table, holding your breath, hoping they'll look up again. After that night, I stopped trying. Not out of pride, not even anger, just exhaustion. You can only reach out so many times before you realize you're the only one reaching. I used to check if she got home safe, used to ask how her day was, what she ate for lunch, if she needed anything from the store. But at some point, I noticed my questions became background noise, something she heard but never answered. So I stopped. I stopped waiting up for her when she went out with Ethan. I stopped asking who she was texting. I stopped looking at the door when I heard her key turn late at night. And weirdly, she seemed happier that way. The house got quieter, the dinners shorter, the space between us wider. But for the first time in months, I could actually breathe because I wasn't chasing anymore. Don't get me wrong, I still loved her. God, I did. But loving her started to feel like loving smoke. You can see it, you can smell it, but no matter how hard you try, you can't hold it in your hands. Sometimes she'd walk past me wearing perfume she never used to wear, makeup a little heavier than usual, smiling at her phone, and I'd just watch. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood I couldn't compete with something invisible. I think the breaking point came one evening. We were sitting on the couch, not touching, not talking. The TV was on, playing some comedy show she used to love. Ethan texted. I didn't see the message, but I saw her face. That soft smile, the kind I hadn't seen directed at me in months. And something inside me just went quiet, like the last sound of something breaking that no one else can hear. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized I'd already lost her. She just hadn't left yet. People think heartbreak comes like a storm, but no. Sometimes it comes like a slow leak, one drop at a time until there's nothing left to drown in. That was the night I knew I had to stop pretending, because staying was starting to feel like begging for air in a room with no oxygen left. It was a Friday night. Funny how I still remember the day. The smell of rain on the sidewalk, the sound of her keys hitting the counter. I had already packed. Not much, just what I needed. A few shirts, my laptop, the framed photo from our wedding. I didn't take everything. I didn't want to. I just wanted to leave enough space behind for her to realize what was missing. When she came home, she looked surprised to see me sitting there on the couch. I guess she thought I'd already gone to bed, like every other night. Hey, she said, kicking off her shoes. You're up late. I nodded toward the suitcase beside me. Her smile froze. What? What's that? I didn't make her wait long. I can't do this anymore, Sophie. Her face changed. Confusion first, then disbelief, then the faintest flicker of fear. What do you mean? You're leaving? Over Ethan? Seriously? I shook my head. It's not about Ethan. And I meant that. It was never just about him. He was only the mirror showing us what was already broken. It's about us, I said quietly. About how I've been trying to reach you, and you haven't looked at me in months. About how I've been begging for respect in my own marriage and getting laughed at instead. She stepped closer, eyes wide now, maybe realizing for the first time that I wasn't bluffing. Daniel, please, I'll change. I'll stop seeing him, I promise. God, I wanted to believe her, but promises don't mean much when they're made too late. I took her hand just for a second. It was cold. I gave you years, Sophie. I begged you to see me. You didn't. You saw a jealous man you could laugh at, but now I see myself, and I know I deserve better. She started crying then, the kind of crying that comes from shock, not sorrow, like she couldn't believe I was really walking out. I didn't yell, I didn't slam doors, I just stood up, lifted the suitcase, and walked to the door. She called my name once, quiet, trembling, but I didn't turn around, because sometimes love doesn't end with hatred. It ends with understanding. When you finally see that staying is more painful than leaving, and that night I walked away from the woman I used to love, not because I stopped loving her, but because she stopped being someone I could love in peace. The first night after I left was the hardest. I stayed at a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind with flickering lights and thin walls where you can hear the next room's TV. I didn't sleep. I just sat there, staring at my suitcase. It looked too small to hold an entire marriage inside. The silence felt heavier than anything I'd ever carried. No sound of her brushing her teeth, no faint hum of her voice on a late phone call. Just air. Empty, clean, painful. I thought I'd feel angry, or maybe free, but all I felt was nothing. People think leaving is the climax, the big dramatic moment, but it's not. The real pain comes after, when the adrenaline fades and all you're left with is the echo of your own decision. I checked my phone a dozen times that night. Nothing from her, no calls, no messages, not even a "where are you?" And somehow that hurt the most. I guess I thought she'd chase me, or at least ask me to come back, but she didn't. Maybe pride stopped her. Maybe she was just relieved. A week went by before she finally texted, "I miss you." 2 words, no apology, no reflection, just absence dressed as affection. I stared at the screen for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I typed a few replies, then deleted them. What do you say to someone who only misses the version of you that tolerated their neglect? I didn't reply. I couldn't. Instead, I went for a walk that evening. The air was crisp, and for the first time in months, my chest didn't feel tight. I noticed the sound of my footsteps, the smell of the rain-soaked ground. It's strange how peace doesn't come with joy. It comes with the absence of chaos. That night, I realized something. Sometimes you don't leave because you stopped loving someone. You leave because you finally love yourself enough to walk away. I still think about her, of course. Some mornings I wake up and reach for the empty space beside me before remembering it's gone. But the silence doesn't scare me anymore. It's not punishment. It's recovery. And for the first time, I can hear my own thoughts again. It's been 6 months since I left. Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Sometimes it feels like another lifetime. People ask me if I've spoken to her since. The truth? A few times. Texts about bills, a package, a friend's wedding invitation that somehow still had both our names on it. The conversations were polite, stripped of emotion, like business transactions between strangers who once shared a home. I used to think closure meant sitting face to face, talking it out, saying everything left unsaid. But I've learned that closure doesn't always come with words. Sometimes it comes quietly, when you stop needing answers. A month ago, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked the same, maybe a little thinner. Her hair shorter. She smiled when she saw me, that same polite smile I used to get when we were pretending everything was fine. "Hi," she said softly. "Hey." There was a pause, just long enough to remember everything we used to be, and everything we'd lost. She asked if I was okay. I said yes, and for the first time, I meant it. We stood there for a moment, between the aisles, surrounded by strangers who had no idea they were standing in the middle of what used to be a marriage. Then she said, "I hope you're happy, Daniel." I smiled. Not the fake one, not the broken one, just a small, real one. "I am," I said. "I really am." And that was it. No dramatic goodbye, no tears. Just 2 people finally standing in the quiet truth. They'd loved, they'd lost, and they'd survived it. I watched her walk away, and for the first time, I didn't feel that familiar ache in my chest. There was only peace, the kind that doesn't come from forgetting, but from forgiving. Her and myself. You see, love doesn't always end in fire. Sometimes it fades out like a sunset. Slow, gentle, inevitable. And that's okay. I still carry her somewhere inside me, not as a wound, but as a lesson. A reminder that love without respect will always collapse under its own weight. That night when I came home, I unpacked the last of my things. The wedding photo was still in the suitcase. For a moment, I thought about throwing it away, but I didn't. I placed it in a drawer instead. Out of sight, but not erased. Because some memories aren't meant to be destroyed. They're meant to rest. And that's my last goodbye. Not loud, not bitter, just final.